Good morning, it's us again. Well, it's actually me here. Monty's in the back, the trailer, not the back of the car. Back of the car is the puppies. Oh, the Tavely. He is actually strapped in, he's just helping drive. And Rosie's back behind me. So we are off to Winslow cross country competition. It is the first time we've done a cross country course, like a full one. First time we've done cross country on grass since last October, and first time doing without shoes on. Lots of firsts here. So I'm going to go for I'm excited. The last vlog when we went training to the mini cross-country course at Hopton went really well, apart from like some really poor rider training choices on my part, but overall he was so good, he jumped so well, and that gave me and him a lot of confidence. So I'm quite excited to see how that translates out in a proper cross-country environment, in a competition environment, and on grass. Whether he'll turn into a racehorse again, I mean, possibly, probably. So, it's about an hour there, not too far. So a really good kind of like first trip out for us. Let's see what happens. Right, a bit of a course walk now, and I am a novice at this, as I'm sure that will be fairly evident by being a novice at most things on this vlog. So I walk the course and try and work out how do I think I need to jump it with Monty based on how he is that particular day, which might not always be the right thing to do. I undoubtedly, in fact I know I do, because I did it here and I do it in other competitions. I always think about what's the worst thing that can happen and try and plan for it, rather than being more positive about how it's going to go well. So here we go. Number one, this was a nice, small, inviting, kind of like just go type fence. It was fairly close to the start box, but enough distance to be able to get a good counter to it. And for us, I still need to work on the start basically, because he gets quite nappy leaving the start box. The other horses, often where the warm-up is as well, so we're often a bit sticky and squiggly, and yeah, so starts are not our forte. So that was my main focus with this first jump. Second fence, nice slightly ascending rail with a nice ground pole. Quite a good run from the first one, again to get some impulsion up and hopefully pop over it. Okay, so this was one of the ones where I went, oh, that's a little bit big. And it was quite a gappy shock, toothing with a few fences around, because it wasn't a combination, but fence 4 was quite close to it, and I definitely needed to jump that fence, the shark's tooth fence, with an eye to how I was jumping fence 4. So my plan was to bring him back a little bit, make sure that we had the impulsion but the control to be able to do that slightly bending line to fence 4. That looked like it would be quite a straightforward rail fence to pop. Fence 5 looked fairly straightforward. The main thing was I needed to do quite a wide turn and back round to get to it, to try and jump it quite straight. And because I'm still getting used to the sort of no shoes and how's the grip situation. This was quite a chunky fence and quite narrowish in between the sort of two turrets of the castle, but again, and in front of it was the rope fence, which was quite close. So one of the things I was conscious of was being able to jump that with enough energy, but be able to bring him back to then swing left so that we didn't end up in or through that fence. So this fence, after coming over that little castle one before and then swinging left quite quickly. We then had to swing left again and home, and all the other horses were straight ahead before we swung left. So one of the things I knew I'd had to do was keep an eye on him and trying to stay straight, but also being conscious of not going too tight around the turn with his without having shoes on, etc. It was one of those kind of like two corners stuck together fences, which we'd never jumped before, but I wasn't thinking there would be anything particularly tricky about it as long as we got to it okay and straight, etc. This next fence, a set of rails through a hedge into the next field, looked okay in terms of the jump, but one of the things that I was conscious of was again having to swing right after the last fence, not too tight so that he could see it in time, because that's one of the things that we need to work on, but also to see what was behind it in time, because there was quite a lot going on in that other field. So I just wanted to make sure I set him up properly for that one. And then into this field to jump this house, which looked fine, and up and along to a gap where you then had to do a tight kind of 180 loop back on yourself to then jump the back of that house and through a gap in the hedge back into the previous field again. This looked like a nice roll top, didn't think there'd be any issues with that. And then the tyres, again, no issues with the jump. However, next field to the right, there were horses running around, and when other horses that were going over the course while I was walking it were going past, they were getting quite excited and galloping around. So again, just one of the things I was having to think about was trying to make sure he didn't get distracted by them or freak out at them and not think about the jump. This was a rail kind of ditch rail combination, although they were all separate jumps. And I definitely overthought this one. So the rails themselves were nice, inviting jumps. The ditch was poles with like soil in between, and I just didn't know what he'd make of that. So I was thinking that I'd come into these three jumps slowly with bouncy canter and just make sure he saw it all, got it all, and didn't rush and panic. Rail oxer thing, fairly meaty for us, but a kind of like jump and go one, or go and jump, anyway. The palisade that came after was quite upright, quite solid looking, and also you had to swing right quite quickly and quite tightly after it. So I was really conscious of needing to have control straight after that jump. Whilst there wasn't a jump straight after, you had to get through the gap in the hedge into the next field to then come round in a loop and jump beehive thingies, thinner, narrowish, but fairly straightforward. And then to the last, which was a wide-ish table box thing, and then back to the finish. So that was the theory. That was how I thought about the course in my head, how I planned to go round and jump. So let's see the reality of it. Oh yeah, that was the other thing I had to consider. The fact that we were literally right next to Manchester Airport takeoff landing, planes going straight over the warm-up area, the actual course itself. And the monster didn't bat an eyelid. Well, not at that, anyway. So here's how we got on. Warm-up actually was really nice. He jumped really calmly. Start was a bit sticky, as I thought it was going to be, so I really had to ride him and pony club kick him over first. But then we came to the second 5, he got that really nicely. So at this point, I had Rosie encouraging us round, the geese, Monty belting off with me, and I was trying to bring us back to some sort of control before this fence, which I was already a bit worried about. I knew I needed to be able to jump the one straight after, but he napped right, I think because there was a horse coming past the other way and I just was not quick enough to catch it and straighten up. I also think though I killed the canter in trying to bring us back to control, and he kind of went, I can't do this. So back round, I used my voice. Maybe more for me than him, but it worked. And actually, the next one jumped really nicely. The chair jumped well, and then we came around the corner to the castle thingy. Now, I was supposed to jump the middle one of these. I actually realised on the video I jumped the right one, which I think was more the 100, but anyway, we did it. Again, used my voice. Then had to come round, thought we were actually going to hit that little rope fence, but we did get round it. Still worried about his lack of shoes and grip, but he was absolutely fine. He then did, as we came up to fence 7, start napping home. I caught it, straightened him up, and we got over number 7 fine. And then we come to the tiny little rail fence through the hedge, which I had already clocked I would need to let him see. Didn't. I think I cut the corner and went, there you go. And he went, what? So came round again. Jumped it a little bit hesitantly second time round, and then over the house through the gap with a quite a tight 180 loop back round on ourselves to jump the back of the house, through a gap in the hedge, and then to this roll top, which he flew over no problem. He then starts napping because, oh yeah, there's a horse. So I have definitely got to be on my game to catch that when it happens. We then jumped the tyres, no problem, and there were horses running around like idiots in the field next door, but he paid them no attention. We came up to the ditch rail combination, and here's where I cocked up again. So I was worried about the ditch thing, which wasn't really a ditch. So I jumped the rail and then brought us back to a trot. He then started looking at the ditch and wondering why we'd come back to a trot. I think thought it was something he should worry about and stopped. I thought we'd gone sideways. We must have gone back. Anyway, we were classed as a refusal there as well. However, he then jumped it from standstill and popped over the next rails. Lovely. This rail oxer thing jumped over lovely. And then came up to the palisade, and I was again just trying to bring him back. I probably cut our power a little bit too much here, but did use my voice. And over we went, and then swung right into the gap fine, curved round, jumped those 2 doubles no problem, and then flew over the last. So this is the face of a woman that has just ridden the cross-country course in quite hot, humid, sticky conditions with quite an excited horse, although to be fair, whilst I was still having to bring him back, he was definitely up for doing his racehorse gallops between the fences. So I did have to keep bringing him back, but he responded really, really well. So technically we were eliminated again, which is a bit of a that little ditch thing, which I thought might be a little bit of a moment for him, almost let him think too much about what was it, and he just kind of like did a little sideways move. I thought we might have got away with it, but he obviously put one foot back, and anyway, there we go. So the ditch sadly was the third refusal. I'm a bit annoyed with myself. Anyway, yeah, there you go. So totally rider error, but even though it is another E, I am very, very, very chuffed that we jumped all the others super well. There were some bigger ones. It was an 80-90 course, so we kind of stepped up a little bit, although there are also some tiny ones. Like that first one was a lovely little one to get us going. So all in all, a very good day. I'm going to have to come back to this. I believe that was what we were jumping with. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope it was useful, enjoyable. Please do like, comment and subscribe. You don't want to miss the next one. We're off to pony camp.